Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Positively Montana. I'm Hallie Schwinnard. Each week we travel the state looking for stories that inspire, people helping others and doing good in our communities. Let's begin with owning a senior dog. It can be one of the most rewarding experiences for pet owners. They're wise, calm companions that won't chew your shoes or furniture. They prefer cuddles and naps over chaos. And senior dogs often bond quickly and deeply with their new humans. A nonprofit in Billings, established in 2020, gives senior dogs a chance to live out their lives in the way they all deserve.
I love working with the senior dogs.
Let's start at the beginning. Here you go, Desi. Good boy. Mosqueda. Good girl.
Marge Hall is living the
what I
dream,
got. All
a
the way
dream
back.
that she and her husband had of opening a sanctuary for senior dogs.
We're all super seniors, and the dogs are too. So, oh, good boy.
Dogs that
you're
otherwise
such a good
might not
boy,
have had a future.
Truly, only 1 in 4 usually get adopted or taken, and nationally. All right, go get it.
Welcome to Pooch's B&B, a place where dogs are certainly welcome. This home for senior dogs is on 2.5 acres with 3 yards and a field and a whole lot of love.
So this is kind of their final landing place. Most of these dogs have had situations or journeys that have not been sometimes the kindest or the nicest, and some of them have been very well taken care of. He was from Sheridan. His parent passed away. Marty was a bite risk. He was in Miles City, Montana, loose on the run. He was going to be euthanized because he bit animal control, but he's turned out to be such a good boy.
A chance some of these dogs would never
buddy.
have gotten if it weren't for this nonprofit.
They had the 3 strikes against them: blind, bonded, and they were old. He's such a good boy. Cruiser, you're such a good boy, honey.
25 senior dogs make their home here.
You know, we live here 24/7. It is our home, but it is the dog's home. This is Cammie.
Marge gets help from a number of volunteers, many who are also seniors.
They are treated so well, and they're so happy. They live as a pack.
The dogs are not up for adoption. It's their forever home where they can live out their lives in a way that all dogs deserve.
You can change their life in the last 2 years that you have with them as much as they can change your life. This is such a fun place, and it's a happy place.
In Billings, Russ Riesinger, MTN News.
A man is using the mountains of Montana to help soldiers heal. For the men and women who have served our country, there are countless service organizations that help them adjust back to civilian life. But there's one based in Sanders County that's different from the rest.
It's not how you served, it's because you served.
Lieutenant Colonel Tom Schuman's Marine Corps service has taken him across the world, including the deadliest combat zones.
I had 3 Marines commit suicide in April of 2020, and I fought in the bloodiest battle in the war in Afghanistan. After those 3 suicides, I had lost more Marines on the home front than I'd lost on the battlefield.
Schuman says while teaching at the Naval Academy, he dove into research on suicide among veterans.
I just thought, you did everything you could do to keep your Marines alive in combat. What are you doing to keep them alive at home? And I felt like not enough.
He says he found non-combat veterans are 68% more likely to die by suicide than combat veterans. And while he praises the nearly 45,000 veteran service organizations, he says about 99% of them only service about 2% of the veteran population.
They had a barrier to entry. They had a box to check. You had to be, you're not disabled enough, you're not disordered enough, you're not Navy SEAL enough, you're not wounded enough, you're not in crisis.
Schuman wanted to give veterans a place where the only requirement was they had served.
If you're a Navy sailor on a ship, if you're an Air Force maintainer turning a wrench on a C-17, if you're a soldier driving a truck, we think all that service matters, and this is your base, and you belong here.
The family of a fellow Marine he served with homesteaded in Thompson Falls in the 1800s and offered space on their property to get the patrol base started. They upgraded the surroundings when a former boarding school property became available. And unlike many other veteran service organizations, PB Abate built programs and activities based upon what veterans want to do.
Some said jujitsu, and some said weightlifting, and some said hunting, and some said golfing, and scuba diving, and music, and art, and yoga, and books.
The patrol base, which is free to attend, is named in honor of Sergeant Matt Abate, killed in action on December 2nd, 2010. Schumann says Abate was a man apart.
He was in a class of his own. He was truly the Achilles of our battlefield, separate and distinct in his capabilities and honor.
PB Abate has 40 chapters around the country and is dependent on volunteers. Their fundraising efforts include a recently released Montana license plate with a picture of veterans around a campfire that fittingly reads, "Return to base."
When you are out on patrol in a foreign land and you've been shot at a bunch and walk through IED fields and you make the call, hey, we're RTB. It's a good feeling to be able to head back to that base and know that for a second you can eat some chow and take your gear off.
In Great Falls, Tim McGonigal, MTN News.
A Billings nonprofit that serves women in recovery is now growing even larger. Phase 2 of the three-step project broke ground as Hannah's House expands to 6 buildings across 4 lots. That expansion will not only be able to help more women, but their children, as the campus will now include a daycare center.
This is the Hannah House Big House, a sober living home for women that have families and children. Right next door, some of them, when they make progress, they may come and live in this transitional living home. There's also a sober living house on that other side for women with no children. And here's where the new one's going to go. New home for daycare and also more transitional living.
And we actually get out another table on Thursday nights.
The women at the Hannah House get ready for their Thursday dinner and Bible study.
More like a sorority, but we're all working to better ourselves.
Lori Ingram has been at the sober living home for 16 months and will soon be on her own.
I feel like my recovery is a gift from God that was always there. I just needed to learn how to accept it. And there was a time in my life when I didn't feel worthy. And I know now that I've always been loved.
I do think sometimes they cook breakfast together.
Jessica Smith is the Hannah House director and once was a resident, making it through the Community Leadership and Development Program successfully.
I was so broken. The idea of me being a leader and being somebody who would be able to speak into people's recovery was non-existent. And so it's just so surreal.
Woohoo! And the dream begins.
Hannah House supporters celebrated the groundbreaking for a new house that will have a daycare center and serve as a transition home for women who are ready to leave the big house. The new house will allow Hannah House to increase its capacity from 11 women and 20 children to 18 women and up to 46 children. Those who support and oversee the program admire the women who change their lives.
It's inspiring. I see these women and the grit and the tenacity that they have to overcome some of the past experiences that they've gone through, and they truly are my heroes.
To see them go where they can just be the moms that they wanted to be, or the wives, or the daughters, or sisters that they want to be is so exciting.
And the women are happy that the expansion will help more women just like themselves.
And now in just 9 years, we will have doubled the women we can help. And we get to help their kids, too.
I am 500 days clean and sober. I know it's going to be a good future.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
April is Donate Life Month, raising awareness about the need for organ donors. As the Billings Studio Theater, there's a play called The Tin Woman. It's based on a true story about a woman who received a heart transplant and one family who knows the difference that organ donations can make.
Friday night at Billings Studio Theater.
Well, a lot of our patients are changed by things like this.
It's going to hit home for a lot of people.
It's opening night for The Tin Woman.
You're not going to get rid of his camera, are you? That was new.
A play about grief and hope after the main character, Joy, receives a heart transplant.
She's dealing with survivor's guilt, depression, kind of how to deal with that. And then she decides to reach out to the family of the donor.
I hope people really just listen and get some of the humor that's in those little places.
But this is more than just a play. For some, it's reality, and it comes during a time for organ donor awareness.
They make the difference for successful surgery. They're a large part of what we're able to do to improve people's lives.
Before each show, over the course of the next week, testimonies will be shared from organ donors and their families, including the story of Jake Whittock.
We checked into the Children's Hospital on September 11, 2001. It was a terrible time, terrible day.
When Deanna's baby boy Jake was only 11 months old, he received a liver transplant from a 17-year-old named Michael.
What I have heard about Michael from his sister, Jake is very similar. Every time he smiles, I see him and I see Michael.
Because of that opportunity almost 24 years ago, Jake is healthier than ever, still with that same liver.
If you find yourself being charitable of spirit, charitable with your money, charitable with your time, charitable with your family, kind to animals, if you have that compassionate part of your nature, this fits for you.
Penny Clifton will also be sharing before one of the shows. As the chair for Donate Life, she knows organ donations can save lives, organs as small as the eyes.
These are things like bone, skin for burn victims, corneas so people can see.
A play with a purpose, celebrating life and spreading the importance of organ donations.
I think in those moments when I am sitting there at the end, I think about how I would feel if I were to lose my sibling and have their heart in somebody else.
In Billings, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
Still to come on this edition of Positively Montana, a step closer to recognition. Montana lawmakers advance a bill to officially honor Indigenous Peoples Day. More on the importance right after the break.
More stories from the heart of the Treasure State are on the way when Positively Montana continues after this. Welcome back to Positively Montana, sponsored by Benefis Health System.
Welcome back to Positively Montana. Montana officially recognizes Indigenous People Day as a state holiday observed annually on the second Monday of October. The bill allows for the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day alongside Columbus Day, providing Montanans the option to observe either or both holidays on the same day. Indian educators say it's about validation, education, and respect.
The Montana House passed a bill this week to officially recognize Indigenous Peoples Day statewide, marking a major win for Native communities and a growing push for representation.
It's a day that celebrates the ancestral lineage of all Montanans.
The Montana House of Representatives passed Senate Bill 224 on Wednesday with an 87-12 vote. Representative Tyson Running Wolf carried the bill, emphasizing that the bill doesn't erase Columbus Day. It establishes another holiday that celebrates Montana and its history.
So this bill gets away from eliminating a holiday and simply gives Montanans the option to celebrate what they prefer on the second Monday in October.
For Native American students in the Great Falls Public School District, representation like this isn't just symbolic, it's vital.
Helps our Indigenous kids because they are able to see themselves represented in a positive way.
GFPS Indigenous Education Instructional Coach Tawny Kale says that Indigenous representation and education is not only important for Indigenous students, it's just as important for all Montanans.
But it also helps our non-Indigenous folks, our non-Native folks, to see and to recognize how beautiful the heritage is and how our culture is alive and it's well, and everybody gets a chance to learn about it. So adding this bill recognizing Indigenous Peoples Day, I just think really shows that how much we value the cultural preservation of the people that were called this place home first.
The bill is now headed for Governor Greg Gianforte's desk, and if passed, Indigenous Peoples Day will be officially observed across Montana starting this year. In Great Falls, Brianna Juneau, MTN News.
It's no surprise that Montana's history is as vast and rich as its landscapes. From the gold rush era and the bustling boom towns of the mid-1800s to pivotal moments like the Battle of the Little Bighorn, where Montana became the backdrop for some of the most significant conflicts between Native nations and the U.S. military. Historic neighborhoods can be found throughout the state. In Great Falls, for example, many homes trace their roots back to the city's early development under Paris Gibson. That history is quite literally built into the foundations and walls of these properties.
Have you ever wondered what could be in the history of your home if those walls could talk? The History Museum's Research Center has thousands of records that could help you uncover some of your home's secrets.
Sometimes people are like, well, did somebody die in my house? Or did Paris Gibson own my house? These are the typical questions.
In order to get people more familiar with accessing records within the Research Center, the History Museum hosted a workshop on Saturday in which participants could research their own homes or apartments and learn about its history.
There's a lot of times when people say, well, when did this addition get put on? Or, has my house always been this way? And we have different resources that we can look at to help you find out if that's true.
The workshop is part of the museum's second Saturday programming, and they hope to increase the amount of workshops in the coming months. With hundreds of photographs, city and county records, newspapers, and private collections, the Research Center holds information for not just Cascade County, but surrounding areas, with some of the most information and holdings in the state.
We do pride ourselves on trying to capture the history of north central Montana. So even if it's a little further out, we might know something about it.
Besides history of properties, many use the Research Center to look for relatives and family photos. The archives are completely open to the public and digitized for convenience. The Research Center does ask that you make an appointment before coming in so an archivist can help you find what you're looking for. In Great Falls, I'm Anissa Coomer, MTN News.
The 16th annual Project Community Connect returned to Missoula, offering anyone in need of help access to 75 different services. It was a one-stop shop at the Missoula Public Library, and it's where dozens of volunteers and community members come together.
The Missoula Public Library is filled today. Up to 75 organizations offer their services at no cost to the community. This is all put on by volunteers for the Project Community Connect 2025.
I think it's just reaching a lot of people and it's making a really big impact. We have great opportunities and just being able to help those people find the places and get started in the right direction is super important.
Yeah, maybe. We came here today because we heard that there's a lot of stuff going on here.
The 16th annual Community Connect welcomed anyone in need of a service. The community had access to various resources, and a main attraction was the Hot Threads Together closet.
Did they give it to you at a discounted rate? Was it free?
Just for free. You get to walk in. Yeah.
Jay stopped by the event with her family, and their new items didn't cost a thing.
I can't wear these when I go skating. Comfortable. They gave us a bag. They said grab whatever you want. It's up for the grabs.
There was a food pantry at the event, sanitary items on display up for grabs, and health services.
Less than a beast too.
Project Community Connect has established the Missoula Public Library as the location for the annual event moving forward. In Missoula, Cynthia Carranza, MTN News.
Packs of food like this one have been going home with elementary students since 2011. That is now expanding to the middle school students as well, thanks to the Great Falls Community Food Bank's Backpacks for Kids program.
In our Great Falls area, we do have several individuals, children, that are food insecure. So the backpack program helps bridge the gap.
The Backpack for Kids program was started to feed underprivileged children at the 4 most impoverished elementary schools.
Once the child graduates from 6th grade and moves up to 7th and 8th, they lose that Backpack for Kids program.
According to the Great Falls Community Food Bank, the issue of food insecurity has spread throughout all of Great Falls.
We're all feeling the stress of an economy that is getting more expensive. And so one of the first things that we have to afford is food for our kids. We have to come to school with a full belly.
Beginning in the fall of 2025, the food bank will be delivering more than 1,200 packs of food a week to all 15 elementary schools and the 2 middle schools in Great Falls.
Anytime somebody comes alongside schools and provides resources for our kids so that they don't have to worry about the little things, which add up to be the big things, it just helps us do our job better and our kids are happier, so it's great.
The Backpack for Kids program cost the food bank about $125,000 per year before this expansion.
It is going to increase our budget by about 30%, so community support is definitely needed.
In addition to the program expanding to the middle schools next fall, the Backpack for Kids program will also benefit the Centerville and Vaughn schools. More information on the program and how to donate will be available online. For MTN News, I'm McKenna Dickey.
Still to come on this edition of Positively Montana, wrapping up the ski season in style. We hit the slopes for some rodeo action right after the break.
Positively Montana continues after this. Welcome back to Positively Montana, sponsored by Benefice Health System.
Welcome back to Positively Montana. Ski season is wrapping up, but Red Lodge featured the mountain's first ever snow rodeo. A little fun on the slopes to close out the season.
In celebration of all things Montana and another year here at Red Lodge Mountain, it's the first snow rodeo, an annual event you'll likely see for many more years to come. On the slopes of Red Lodge Sunday, lassos, cowboys, and of course, snow.
We just wanted to celebrate our local culture here, so we launched the first annual snow rodeo here at Red Lodge Mountain, kind of celebrating our cowboy heritage, and we're having a blast with it.
Red Lodge Mountain finished their season with a bang, starting with the Saddleback Slalom.
It really kind of combines the skills of skiing and riding with the skills of being a cowboy here in Western U.S.
Participants slid down the mountain while practicing their cowboy skills, from a barrel run to a cattle tie finish.
We're cowgirls, and we love to ski.
An event enjoyed by ski instructors Alani Lurash and Katrina Zupan.
I think anytime we get to dress up like cowboys and be silly on snow is pretty fun.
The rodeo ended in a unique way, as well as with the denim fashion show for all cowboys and cowgirls to enjoy.
This year, it's been well received by our guests, so if you weren't able to make it this year, keep an eye out for it next year because we're bringing it back for the snow rodeo at Red Lodge Mountain.
It's been a really fun weekend. It's kind of bittersweet. This is our last official weekend to open. We do open next weekend for Easter, but this is just a really fun way to wrap up our season. So.
And this is Eleni. It's on my very first year teaching, and we've had a fantastic experience.
It's been awesome.
In Red Lodge, Matt Carmack, MTN News.
We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Positively Montana. I'm Hallie Schwinnard, and we'll see you right back here next week.